Today I want to talk about 5 AI tools that I use daily as a CEO to save 10 plus hours per week. And AI is kind of a buzzword, and if you're just using ChatGPT day to day, then I think that you're missing out on some cool stuff. So I'm going to be walking through 5 use cases that I use AI daily. And here are the 5 things that we're going to be walking through. It's going to be an AI assistant that schedules my calls without me having to do much. An AI marketing focus group to get feedback on some of the ideas that I have. A daily meeting brief also generated by AI, and there's actually some pretty cool stuff that it can do. I'm going to be talking about NotebookLM, and then I'm going to be talking about a few use cases of ChatGPT specifically. So let's walk through that. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, this will also be on YouTube, and I'm going to be sharing my screen, so it might be useful to hop over to YouTube as well and just type in Smart Marketer and see what I'm doing. So before we're going to dive into these use cases, I want to talk about the difference between automations, AI automations, and basically fully autonomous AI, because it can sometimes be a bit hard to understand what is actually the most useful right now and what AI can and cannot do, because just using ChatGPT as a search engine is pretty limited right now. So first, automations are rule-based systems. So think Zapiers, think if this happens, then that, right? It's just follow instruction. They're following instructions exactly. For example, like sending a welcome email or whatever tools you're connecting. If this happens, then that must happen too. And they're very reliable, which is awesome. But if you go one step further, let's say on the AI timeline, this is what I call AI automations. And what they do, they learn and adapt rather than just following rules. And they can also make decisions for you, like deciding who should get an email, what subject line it should be, who to send it to, or interpret text. For example, if someone sends something back. Anything related with text, I've noticed AI automations are very useful for, because LLMs, so large language learning models, they are very good at pretending to be human and understanding context. And if you give them the right prompt in combination with an automation, that's actually a very useful case. And I also think that in the big landscape of AI, this is the most useful case right now. AI automations or AI agents. It's basically autonomous. So you set it up like an automation. There's part of it is AI, and then it will go execute on that. And you can have very good results with that and actually already save a lot of time. And a good example of a tool that we're going to use is Lindy.ai. There are more. N8N is another example. Gumloop is another example. But we're going to be focusing on Lindy.ai because it allows us to set these things up very fast and get results very fast without having to be very technical. And that's the goal. You want to use this in a very low friction way so that you can incorporate it in your life, because AI will only accelerate. So we have to start using it right now in our daily life, because at some point you're going to fall behind. Then obviously fully autonomous AI could be like an AI acting like a team member, analyzing data, deciding priorities, and executing tasks across tools. Now, AI is not there yet, but it will be, and probably much faster than we think. So if we're now going to be able to hop on a train of AI agents and AI automations, the moment fully autonomous AI will wear out and we can actually use it in our businesses, we'll be used to using AI agents. And the step from AI agents to fully autonomous AI will actually be not that big. So let's first start with an AI scheduling assistant. Now, I have had an executive assistant over the years a few times, and I've always encountered challenges and issues with that. And it was not necessarily obviously the assistant's fault, but I struggled working with that. And one of the core things that I've tried to solve is booking off calls. I have a lot of calls. I speak to a lot of people, whether job interviews, potential clients, potential partnerships. And I have found that an AI scheduling assistant is extraordinarily useful for me day to day. So I'm going to give you an example of an email conversation with someone who wants to book a call with me, and how AI literally books that into my calendar with the right Zoom link without me having to do anything. So the person is actually confirming that that they would like to have a meeting. So what I'm saying in my email, adding Lindy to the CC. Lindy, can you find us a 45-minute time slot for next week in EST time zone? And what you can see just a few minutes later is 2 minutes later, Lindy, which is my AI scheduling assistant, follows up and says, hey, I'm happy to find a time. Here are a few 45-minute time slots next week, all times Eastern. Now, Lindy is integrated with my Google Calendar. So Lindy knows when I actually have availability, when I don't want to have calls, when it's outside my working hours, for example, and any other context that I provide her in the memory, in the knowledge base. And I'm going to show you as well how you can set that up. But she gives 3 options. So Wednesday, Thursday, and 2 times on Thursday. And she says, just let me know which of these works and I'll get it booked. Best, Lindy. Then we get a reply here. We'll take Wednesday, 10:30. And Lindy says, sounds great. I just sent the invite. Let me know if there's any other way that I can help. So with me just telling Lindy, hey, please go schedule that, she'll be able to do that and coordinate the time. Now, if they, for example, would reply, hey, these times do not work for me, Lindy would understand that these times don't work, and she would give another 3 options to book a call with me, which is really awesome. So it can really go back and forth and understand the context of the conversation and provide follow-up with that without me having to do anything. And sure, you can use Calendly for that, but the issue that I had with Calendly is that I still have to go in, type an email up, and send them my Calendly link. I have my Lindy connected to my Slack. So I mostly work in Slack, day-to-day messaging. So I just type in Slack real quick, or I will put a voice recording in Slack, say, hey, Lindy, please go book this call. And it will be basically trigger an action, and Lindy will go and book this call. And what is really nice is that you can customize it for you specifically, like your guidelines. I've customized this as well in order to have multiple attendees, because, for example, you have 3 people that you need to hop on a call with, and they're, for example, from separate organizations. Lindy will understand that she needs to have confirmation of all of these people for that time. Otherwise, she won't book the call. And then, as I said, I have a Slack trigger, which is nice as well, so I can just stay in Slack. And I just want to give you an overview of how this one is actually working. So let me pull the Lindy up. So this is an overview of Lindy.ai. Now, we do not have a partnership or any affiliation with Lindy.ai. I've used a bunch of different AI agent tools right now, and I find that Lindy.ai is very easy to get going with and actually get useful output. Now, Lindy has a bunch of templates, and I would highly recommend you to go over them. They have more than 100 templates, but I want to make it practical so you can actually start using this today. And therefore, I'm giving you the suggestion to start with the meeting scheduler, which is a template that you can find. And if you select the meeting scheduler and you turn it on and you connect it to your Google Calendar and your email, of course, there are a few things that I want to point out. First, the meeting scheduler in the settings. So this is AI generated. So I just clicked AI. So the greeting message is basically the message that you can interact with Lindy in the Lindy interface. So there are a few ways to actually have Lindy take action, which is in the Lindy messaging interface, or for example, in your Slack, if you want to collect your Slack, or in your Gmail. And I'm going to show you how you can actually, let's say, activate the Lindy. But let's focus on the context right now, because this is important. We're telling her, hey, you're a proficient meeting scheduler. You get included in email threads and assist the user with finding available time on their calendar and scheduling meetings based on the user's request and their email conversation context, right? So it understands the context. You must do exactly as told in your instructions and always do a great job at finding free time, suggesting times, and working with the user's email recipient to find time where both parties are free. The nice thing about this template is that this is already in the context, right? So what did I do to customize this for me? I did 2 things that I added to the memories. First, my default meeting room. My default meeting room is Talk with Pep. Any conversations that I have basically happen in Talk with Pep. So I tell Lindy to always add Talk with Pep in the description and the location of the calendar event. This is something specifically that I've noticed for my calendar invites. Then, in addition to that, I also told it how it should have naming conventions in the topic of the calendar event. So I just telling it, hey, I always want you to put the first name of the attendee and my name unless giving other instructions. So for example, let's say I'm meeting with someone like Ben, and then // Pep. That's just how I like to name my calendar invites basically, and this is also how I'm telling Lindy to do. And she does that, which is really awesome. Then the flow editor. Now this is interesting because this very much looks like a Zapier flow editor. And to some extent it is. The only difference is that we have an AI agent integration here. And again, this is a template from Lindy. Just Google the meeting scheduler and you can use this as well. Now I have adjusted, not that much, but I've adjusted a trigger, which is a message received from Slack. And what I have done is that I say, hey, if the text contains @meeting_Lindy and it's coming from my own Slack, so I'm slacking with myself, this is when it basically has a starting trigger to actually start executing this. Now, there are two other starting triggers, which is a message received in the Lindy flow, actually. You can also just chat with your Lindy in Lindy.ai, and also an email. And so the email and the message received are, I think, by default already in the template. Now, the email received is an email that you get automatically from Lindy. In my case, it's scheduler@pepijnhufen@lindy.mail. So what I do, I add the scheduler to the CC of the email. I tell it, hey, adding Lindy to the CC, and then insert your instructions, and then it will actually start automatically doing that. When I do this, this is the flow. So the email is received. Then it basically says, hey, did the user actually specifically talk about a time? If yes, then it's going to find the time, it's going to respond the time, and it's going to basically interact with the user, with the other party, with the recipient, to see if the time is accepted or not. So it is conditional, but it understands the context, and therefore the AI can interact with the recipient. So condition 1 is if the other party accepted one of the meeting times that you offered over email, only continue if the email recipient clearly agreed upon a time and did not suggest other times. This is, by default, how the meeting scheduler of Lindy interacts. So these conditions are set up for you. So you don't have to create this manually. Now, what I did add, because sometimes, again, I have meetings with multiple parties, is that if there's more than one party, wait for all parties to accept unless one user makes clear that the time works for all parties. And I did add that because that's important for me. And I also added that to the second condition. Now, what this does, it's basically, it will go back and forth now until the recipient has agreed on the time, or all recipients have agreed on the time, and then it will go ahead and actually create the event. This is actually an amazing way to start using AI. So this is when we're already giving it a time. Now, additionally, there is ad hoc scheduling. And I won't go through everything that Lindy can do, because you can see there are their flows here, there are conditions, there's this AI agent as well. But again, this is already set by default in the template. So you can just use the template and start using it instead of having to understand everything that Lindy can do. So this is ad hoc scheduling help. And the prompt is to the AI agent, help the user schedule, update, and delete events, responding in email thread only when your user explicitly asks it to do. By default, we are using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which I think works well. And this is basically the skills that we're giving the AI agent. So we're giving it permission to do a certain types of tasks. So it cannot do everything autonomously, I guess, because we want to keep it restricted and condensed. So this is a really useful way for me to book meetings fast and also really hands-off, because I don't have to go in and find other times, because it will do that automatically, and because it's integrated with my calendar, it will just create the events for me. And that actually does save me quite a lot of time. I would say it saves me around 30 to 45 minutes per week. So that's a couple of hours per month. And obviously that really adds up per year. Just a reminder to really use the memory so you customize it to you specifically, because maybe you never want to use certain time blocks. Maybe there are other just nuances that you have with your calendar that you can use it for. So this is a great way for me to actually not needing an executive assistant for these things. For me, this was one of the major things that I had an assistant do, and now I can do that with AI, which is really awesome. So let's move on to the second way of using AI, that I use AI daily, which is a daily meeting brief. So as a CEO, I have about 4 to 12 calls every single day. Some of them are internally, some of them are externally. And specifically the calls externally, because I have so many calls, there is a lot of information and context that I sometimes forget. So what this AI agent does, it gives me at 9 a.m. a daily update about the day ahead. They're telling me who I'm meeting with, but they're also getting me any background information about past email threads with that person, so I have the full context. That also means that, for example, if I spoke to someone 2 years ago, because this happens, like people apply to work with Smart Marketer Agency, and I speak with them 2 or 3 years ago, and they book another call, and in the meantime, I've had 500 other calls about Smart Marketer Agency, I might have forgotten the context of their business. What this does, it will go back in the history and it will give me a summary of actually all previous conversations that I've had with this person through email. There's an optional function that I took out, is that there's a research functionality. So what it can do as well, it can actually go look up the person, their LinkedIn. It can provide you a summary of what they're doing right now, what their job function is, what they've done in the past, things like that. In Lindy, that is fairly expensive, the data enrichment, and I generally don't really need it very much, because if someone wants to speak to me, I either have context or they fill out a type form if it comes to Smart Marketer Agency applications, so I have the context. But the fact that it can go back and every single day gives me an overview of all the meetings that I'm having and the background of the conversation that I had specifically with people that are external, outside of our organizations, I don't obviously do this for internal calls, makes it very useful. So this is the meeting prep, basically. It's a meeting prep assistant. Also, this is by default a template in Lindy. So again, there are a lot of templates that you can use, plug and play. You can make minor customizations and you can go absolutely bonkers with these, because there are so many things that you can do with this. But this is the workflow. So on a recurring schedule, so let's say every day at 9 a.m., it triggers, right? So this is the automation part. So you connect your calendar. And this is the prompt that it has. You are a meeting prep assistant responsible for providing a daily overview of calendar events when triggered every morning. So it looks what's going on. It's finding the title, it's finding the attendees, and then it's going to go into a loop. So what is a loop? A loop is that if there are multiple things that the AI agent is looking at, so for example, I have multiple meetings, what it does, it will go through these, not one by one, but all at the same time, meaning that it's not linear, right? Meaning that it doesn't go through meeting 1, it provides you the information. Meeting 2 provides you the information. No, it can run as a swarm, meaning that meeting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of that day will all at the same time be analyzed. Summaries will be generated based on the emails. It will be squished together and you will get an output, rather than it will go through meeting 1, meeting 2. No, it's a swarm. It's an AI agent swarm, so it can do that all at the same time. And this is what that looks like, right? So it gets the event details, and it has a condition to see if it is a meeting or not. And then it basically has an internal loop. So we're looking at external attendees. It is searching the emails between myself and the external attendee. Then it gives basically a prompt. Hey, summarize this. And this is how you would use ChatGPT, right? Or Claude, or whatever LLM you're using. You would grab the emails, you would drop the emails in your ChatGPT box, and you would say, hey, go summarize this. So this does this automatically. So that's why it's an AI agent, right? And it's like AI automation rather than anything autonomous or just using an automation, because we have an AI functionality in here, which is, hey, these are all of the emails. Now give me a summary of the most important details about the attendee based on their emails. Your output should include clear bullet points with any of the following details mentioned: name, role, company, industry, location, any relevant work initiatives, Tone, personality indicators, or communication style is clearly observable. Keep the summary brief, structured, and factual. No interpretation or opinions. We want this. And it will do this at the same time for all meetings that I have with external attendees. It will exit the loop and it will send me an email with all of this information. Hey, these are your meetings for today, attendee briefings included. And then it's basically, it's prompted how it would actually, how it has to give this information, right? In what structure. So this is a really good way for me every single morning, even though I do prep work, obviously looking at the next day to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is who you're speaking to. So this is, again, an assistant way to actually speed up my workflow. And this actually also, as well, saves me a lot of time. And as you can see, these are 2 ways to use Lindy. There are so many ways, and I am absolutely going to do more tutorials about that in the future. But these are single ways, which is fairly low barrier to actually get this going. Now, these were more like the admin assistant tasks. Another really cool way of using Lindy.ai is basically the marketing focus group. So what this does, in a nutshell, is that you can give it ideas about marketing, either whether it's messaging, launches, or anything else. Maybe you're trying to launch a new product or a new offer, and it will basically bounce back ideas within the different avatars that you set in the AI, and it will reason, the AI agents will reason together, and when they have agreement, they will give you an output. And that's like basically what a normal focus group does as well. And this is a really great way, in my opinion, to test ideas that you have, custom for your avatars. Because the cool thing is that you will tell Lindy what customer avatars you have for your business. And I find that it's like 80% as good as actually speaking to our actual customer. So it's not as good, but it does save me a lot of time, and I can just get my initial idea much more improved and optimized, and maybe then go to my specific avatar. So let's look again at the flow and then actually what this looks like. So the trigger is message received, right? Because we're going to send it a message. Again, you can make this as well in your Slack. And then what you're doing, you have, in this case, you have 3 people, we call it. Now, what's important to understand, that you have, like, let's say a moderator, which is Johnny, and then you have your customer avatars. So Johnny is, let's say, is our employee, and he helps the CEO to iterate on marketing content. So the responsibility of this AI agent is basically to get the information from the focus group and give it to the CEO, which is in this case us. Then it gives more information to, it has to be the focus group, the AI focus group will have to be in agreement and has to explain why they came to that agreement. And what is really cool is that you can set here your personas, your customer avatars. And in general, within Smart Marketer, I would say we have 3 personas, but if you really chop it down, I guess it's 2. It's like business owners / business operators with a marketing angle, obviously. And it is marketing agencies that I follow. So these are the 2 avatars. So what I did, I spoke to ChatGPT and I told ChatGPT, hey, act like a customer avatar expert. These are our avatars. Now give me a brief summary of these actual avatars. And what I did, that output, I uploaded in here. So I gave it an explanation basically here about our persona, and I kept the rest of the prompt the same that Lindy.ai basically already provided for us. I did the same thing with Savvy Sarah, which is our other persona, which is the founder of a marketing agency. And those are the only things that I changed. And what you see in the context is that you are facilitating a marketing focus group. It's a simulation responsible for reviewing and iterating on marketing content provided by the user. The group consists of 3 personas, which is Johnny, so he's the manager of the focus group, Tommy, and Sarah, each with their own perspective role. So the task is to coordinate a simulation of these people actually talking to each other. And this is what LLMs can do really well because it's trained on human data. It can actually act like a human very well. So it's responding from each member of the group, allowing each member to evaluate the content, guiding the process, refining the copy based on the group's input, continuing the refinement, and throughout this process, maintain this distinct voice and perspective of each persona as defined in their individual prompts. And again, these are the individual prompts. And then basically it provides the user with a final idea, basically, and an iteration. So that is what the flow actually looks like. So if you then look into this and what this could potentially then gives you as output, it's, all right, so some of the things that we've been speaking about within Smart Marketer is a low dollar membership. So I am saying, hey, what do you think about a low dollar membership? Offering some courses, monthly calls, what's working right now, templates for ads, emails creative at $97 a month. I also want to include some AI templates. And what you'll see is this is how the reasoning is happening in the AI. So the manager says, dear focus group, I've drafted some initial marketing copy, which is more content than this actually copy for a new membership program. Please review and provide your excitement. And then you will actually see how the AI is reasoning. So Johnny, this was from Johnny. So first, excitement level, not super high, 4 out of 10. Confusing is high. So, okay, this is not very clear yet. And it's actually explaining, based obviously on the prompt, what it is excited about. Elite community, well, what it's not excited about. So it sounds like your typical marketing fluff I see everywhere. The coffee budget comparison feels condescending. $97 a month is significant. No mention specifics of ROI, of results. So here's what's confusing me. Here's what I don't actually like. This is Tinker Tommy. Then the same thing from Sarah, but then from an agency owner perspective, because that's our other avatar. And you can do the same, right? And if you don't have if you don't have distinctive avatars, you always have sub-avatars in your business, right? Being your customers. So I would use those then instead. And what it does, it's actually for us not even that important to understand what they're saying. What's most important is actually what the output is. And the fun thing is they go through 3 iterations. So it's not like an LLM where it just gives you one output. What it does, it gives you output, then it does it again to make it structured and more optimized. It gives you output, does it again. And it does this 3 times to refine the output and actually make it as specific as possible. So this is literally just these AI agents in the focus group talking with each other. So what they did, they went from an excitement level from 4 out of 10 and high confusion to high excitement and low confusion. And this is what I call a solid offer. So now let's scroll down and actually look at the output that it gave us. So this is the output that it gave us. Scale your business with battle-tested marketing systems. Stop guessing what works. Get proven marketing frameworks used by successful 6- and 7-figure businesses. These are the deliverables. And as you can see, this indeed is actually hanging towards copy, because I think it is confusing. The content and copy works. I would have to change this. But actually, this is a very good offer breakdown already. And I could use this as well, obviously, as marketing copy on my page. So here are the monthly deliverables. It's a 2-hour live workshop from someone with this credibility. So it's skilled 50 plus brands doing more than 1 million. It's limited 25 participants. They are done for you campaign templates for Meta, TikTok, and email. There are 15 plus AI automations. There's a what's working right now weekly newsletter. So this is cool, right? Because I didn't tell it to come up with a newsletter. It came up with a newsletter themselves based on their reasoning. So in addition to that, there's a private community access. Proof it works. And then I guess it's introducing already some. Here it's introducing already some reviews that we actually don't have. But it does make our offer super strong and specific with already some really good deliverables. So if you have a Black Friday campaign coming up, if you, for example, have a product launch coming up and you're thinking about, okay, how can I make this as specific and strong as possible? This, in my opinion, can actually already, get you 80% there with 20% off the work. So rather than going to your team members initially, you can use this internally to make it very specific and already go through a few rounds of iterations. It saves a lot of time because it will literally do this in just 1 or 2 minutes, and it has massively improved the initial prompt that I gave and was like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And it gave me specific deliverables. It gave me, I think, very good copy that I could already use or test, and just gave me a much better offer than I would have otherwise. So these were 3 ways that I use AI agents daily. And I actually use all of these things daily. And Lindy.ai, again, is not the only platform, but is very useful. I also want to talk about 2 other ways that I use AI. And this is also very helpful, which is one, it's Google Notebooks LLM. And what it does, it basically turns, at least is how I'm using it, it turns complicated information in a podcast. And I love listening to podcasts when I'm driving. I love listening to podcasts when I'm working out, when I'm walking. And especially when information, it's either a lot of information or it's complicated information. What it does, it creates a dialogue between 2 people that will actually have a conversation about a certain topic that I want to learn more about, which is, in my opinion, fantastic. And this is how I actually read some books. There are books that I find interesting, but I just want to understand the core concept rather than reading through the whole book. This is how I read these books if I have the PDF. This is how I understand complicated papers as well, or anything that I want to learn more about. So you can go to notebookllm.google.com. It's free. You don't have to pay for this. Lindy.ai has a free version, and then obviously it has paid versions as well. And what you do is you upload the source, which can be multiple things. It can be a PDF, which I generally use. You go through your Google Drive, you can add a link or a YouTube video, or just paste text. And what you can do is you can click on generate, and then it will actually generate the conversation. So let me just let you briefly hear about something that I uploaded. This is a book called Raising Boys. I have a son, 16-month-old, and I want to, someone recommended this book, and I just want to know what are the core concepts that they talk about raising boys. And as you can see, it has generated a 14-minute podcast conversation between 2 people touching upon the high-level concepts.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into Raising Boys by Steve Biddulph. We're going to focus on the key insights and advice that are particularly helpful for moms raising sons.
Sounds fascinating. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So, you know how sometimes boys can feel like a complete mystery?
So what this does really well is it understands the concepts, it gives examples that are not used in the book, and it just generally creates a very friendly and nice dialogue between these 2 people on a podcast, which makes it really fun to actually listen to and understand the core concept of a complicated piece. So there are other specific white papers of technology, of AI that is very dense and a lot of technical jargon that I just upload and then listen to in podcast form. So another way of using AI that saves me a lot of time and allows me to also consume a lot of information. AI and technology. And I guess, I want to learn so much. AI is changing so fast that this is something for me to understand concept in a much faster way than I would actually do otherwise if I would have to go sit and read it. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is different ways of using ChatGPT. And I have noticed that most people use ChatGPT as a search engine, like they're using Google. The thing is, ChatGPT, or any LLM that you're using, like Grok or Claude, they are just much more than that. ChatGPT, right now, depending on which model you're using, basically has an IQ of around 140 on any topic possible. And what is important when you are using it is that the quality of the prompt is the quality of the output. So if you just type into ChatGPT, hey, write me some copy for this new computer that I'm launching, or whatever, insert product, it won't give you great output. But the more context you can provide, it will actually can give you exceptional output. And there are 3 ways that I use ChatGPT. There are tasks, there is research, and I use it actually as a conversation partner. And what is important when I start my conversation with ChatGPT, that I generally tell it how I want it to act. I want it to act like, and then insert expert on whatever topic, because generally it's around a specific topic. So for example, act like a startup expert, act like a copywriting expert, act like the best psychologist in the world if I'm having issues that I want to work through. It doesn't really matter because it does have an IQ of 140 on basically any topic possible, but you want to give it very specific directions on what you want to use it for. So you say, act like, insert use case. Then I'm going to give a lot of detail and provide as much context as possible. Now, I generally do that by voice dictation. I speak much faster than I could type. Typing slows me down. So I click the voice dictation, which is different than the voice mode, because that's like having a voice conversation with ChatGPT, which is actually the third point. But now I'm saying, I'm putting on the voice dictation. If I finish that, it translated into text, and that will actually be the prompt. So I say, act like, insert whatever I want it to be, and then I'm going to basically talk through the issue that I want to try to solve. I want to talk through the task that I wanted to do. I want to talk through the research that I want to do. And my thoughts are not structured, so I bounce back and forth, but it doesn't matter because ChatGPT will extract the most information of that. And that prompt can become very long. But with that, I'm giving it direction of how I want it to act, and I'm giving a lot of context of what I'm trying to achieve. And sometimes if you're having it do a specific task, it would also help to give it examples. But generally, I don't do that because I want it to, I generally don't have time to upload examples for it. So, well, I, for example, do it with for tasks. So writing SOPs. If there's a certain thing that I need to have updated, I need an SOP on it. Sometimes I record a Loom video for someone. I get the transcript from my Loom, I upload it, I tell ChatGPT, act like an SOP writing expert, create me an SOP. Or reports, or I'm citating long emails, or I do write specific copy as well. There's a lot of tasks that you can give it. Your output will be improved if you give it direction and you provide it a lot of context. Now, something that I also do is I have actually ChatGPT do a lot of research, because what it can do a tremendous amount of research on the internet, which I think is really awesome. So something that we've been thinking about as well is a specific issue for our customers, specifically the ones that have an e-commerce business, which is the gap between finance and marketing. And I just want to bounce some ideas, and I want to see if ChatGPT could do research if this actually is an issue that it could find online that e-commerce businesses are talking about. So see how I'm doing this, and this is a voice dictation. I wanted, again, there are some mistakes with the voice dictation because it actually misspelled this. I want you to act like a business expert. On deep research mode, which is the one down here, you can select deep research. I want you to research an idea. So I want you to focus on a problem that e-commerce businesses have with their bookkeepers, accountants, and their marketing numbers. As you can see, the voice dictation is not perfect, but fortunately, it understands context, even if you make mistakes, grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes. I believe that there's a massive gap between accounting and marketing numbers. For example, I'm giving it an example, I'm giving it more examples. I'm basically speaking out loud what I have in my mind. What it does then, it gives some clarification answers. And this is different because you have to select deep research mode for this to actually work and be activated. This is very different from search mode on the web. Deep research mode is actually, it will take a lot of time because this analysis takes 15 minutes to actually scroll the internet, get ideas, understand the context, reason internally, and give you output. Are you open to me also reviewing related forums? So it will go through Reddit, it will go through Twitter, it will go through e-commerce groups to actually look for if this could be a good idea and if people are actually talking about it online. This would take me hours and hours, not maybe sometimes even days, to do this research manually. Then a very important clarification question, should I prioritize types of e-commerce businesses, for example, Shopify stores or Amazon sellers, or should it be abroad, which is actually a great question. Should I also identify competitors? So I'm saying yes, review the forums. I'm saying e-commerce businesses. which are almost all Shopify stores, and they can't be Amazon only. So they have to be Shopify, and they cannot be Amazon only, because this will be really something that will be useful for Shopify brands. So it can be Shopify and Amazon. It's not limited to Shopify, but it cannot be Amazon only. So then it does research, and it took 7 minutes. It reviewed 16 sources, and it did 206 searches. So what it then does, it basically goes through the issues that I have called out, and it also references it. So you can actually go to the actual source to see and understand what it found and why it talked about that. So it breaks it down in topics: misalignment between accounting and marketing metrics, delayed and infrequent financial reporting, and there are a lot of subtopics in here: lack of real-time visibility, evidence of unmet need. So this is actually, is there actually confirmation that this could be a good idea? And then it says, considering the above pain points, is there a strong unmet need in the market? The research suggests yes, those solutions are emerging. Here are the indicators. And then basically breaks down for me who are the competitors. So we're talking Polar Analytics, Triple Whale, right? Dacity, which are tracking platforms. It talks about bookkeeping services that are specifically already for e-commerce businesses. And then it also talks about the existing solutions and their shortcomings, right? So it gives you a very in-depth review and also a conclusion. And this can only be the start, because based on this here, based on these pain points, create a sales page for a productized service that provides real-time one source of truth by providing real-time dashboards, an AI assistant, and bookkeeping services customized for e-commerce businesses. And then it's literally it's writing out for me full sales copy, right? So what I'm doing the research, I'm confirming the idea, and then I actually have it switch over to create sales copy for me. And I will actually show you the output. This was actually, in my opinion, really good copy. And then I was able to turn it into a website. Smart Profit. And it literally has the majority of this copy here. I've added it a bit. Real-time, one source of truth. I changed it to one source of truth. But 80% of the copy here is actually exceptionally good. And I just changed it a bit. Now, bonus, I have used another tool for this, which is called Lovable.ai, to actually prompt it to create this website. So I barely did anything myself. This is not built in WordPress or whatever. This is not a Shopify site. This is just a page that I wanted to build. It's called Lovable. Maybe I'll do another episode about that in the future. It's not that important, I would say, for you guys right now. But I took the sales copy, I gave Lovable the sales copy, and I told it to create me a page. And it didn't create this in one go, but it did create like 80% of this in one go. And in my opinion, this is also like how we should use AI right now. AI doesn't have to do 100% of the work. AI at this point is not able to be autonomous yet, though we're absolutely going to get there in the next few years. AI is basically a combination where you are doing, let's say, 10% of the work. AI will do 80% then, and you'll have to refine 10%. And if you set this up well, you can still save an incredible amount of time of research, scheduling, admin tasks. And I do, in the next year or so, I do see that business owners will have to start creating AI agents, and you'll have a swarm of AI agents being able to do these tasks that otherwise, for example, admin work would do. But this would also be for copywriting. This will be for creating promotional plans. These are the 5 ways that I use AI agents. And the last thing about ChatGPT is I use it as a conversation partner. So on voice mode, I actually speak to it like it is like a mentor, and I ask it questions. I'm asking it, am I missing anything? So it doesn't really matter what the topic is, but I use it as a conversation partner to understand complicated concepts, to dive deep into anything I want to learn. I use it much more as a conversation partner rather than as a search engine. So I use it for tasks, I use it for deep research, and I use it as a conversation partner. So there you have it. These are the 5 AI tools that I use daily as a CEO to save over 10 hours per week. And the goal of today was really to give you an introduction of how you can incorporate AI in your daily life and really go beyond ChatGPT without having to be technical. Because Lindy.ai, you don't have to be technical for that, but you will be actually using AI in your daily use flow. Because for most people, the biggest obstacle right now is, how do I implement this actually in my business? Yes, I understand what it is. I understand ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT, but how can I actually incorporate this in my business for me to speed up some of my workflow? And these are 5 ways that I think that are really good ways to start with to start using AI. And in the future, I'll also be really focusing on building out multiple AI agents for us to really accelerate that and hopefully be able to catch the wave of AI. I hope this was useful, and obviously I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.